Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Punch channel. This is the beginning of some coverage on playtest activities. What we're looking at here is a map of a playtest map of the Silent Dead series, and this covers Operation Mars in 1942. This was an attack launched by Zhukov at the same time, or roughly the same time, as the more famous and more successful Operation Uranus as you will, that resulted in the encirclement of Stalingrad. This was much further to the north. I'm going to zoom out here, and it is more in the area of Rzhev. Now, this is just one of 3 maps as I understand it. This is the first of 3 games, and this game is called Belyy, and it is so named because of the town or city of Belyy. So let's give you some broad strokes. This is an introductory video to document what I'm doing here in the playtest. The game system itself is based upon the game Spring Prelude. That is the second Battle of Kharkov. They are fairly close in nature, though there are some useful or interesting differences, I should say. So let's put the units back on the board. So zooming out a bit, you can see that the action is almost entirely limited at the start to the western side of this map in the vicinity of Belyy. Now, coming back east, you can see some additional German units that are not on the front line. I'll call out some victory location points here. This is terrain that is occupied by the Germans, and we go all the way up to this line here, through here, which is the scenario boundary. And the scenario boundary comes out to the east and ends not too far away from Sychevka. Sychevka? I guess I'll go Sychevka, and correct me in the comments, please. Okay, so broad strokes. The idea was that the Germans had a salient reaching towards and slightly past Rzhev. And you can see where the German units are in this area. They actually go somewhat further to the east as well, and that will be a different map, different game in the series. But as I understand it, all 3 games rather, will overlap, and you'll be able to play the entire Operation Mars. So Belyy here, the scenario is called Belyy Thrust, I believe, or Scenario 1, if you will. And the idea is that starting, hopefully you can see that flare, I'm over here near Belyy again. Starting over near Belyy, the idea is to capture Belyy, and to drive generally east, and perhaps a touch south, but generally east in the direction of Sychevka, over here. The idea being, or the original plan being, that they would meet roughly in this vicinity, this area right here. They would meet up with units coming from the east, and therefore form a cauldron or a pocket, and reduce that pocket and regain the ground, and result in the destruction of a lot of German army units. From this vicinity, they were to drive then towards Vyazma. You can see the road over here is leading towards Vyazma in the south, and that would pinch off yet another salient, or another chunk of salient. So that was the original plan. We will see how this goes. So let's zoom back in again, and there we go. All right, so here's where the action is going to be. This is introductory in nature, so I'll do a quick intro, and then we'll proceed to other activities. So you can see that this is the startup scenario for the Soviets, and they have a lot of combat power concentrated near the town of Klemyatin. right here. Quite a big chunk of their combat power is here. The 17th Guards, a goodly number of units. They also have quite a lot of artillery that's going to be coming on the board at start. So, and they'll be coming on the board, I believe, from this entry hex. So this is an entry hex. It also has the supply symbol centered on the flare. It has the supply symbol to indicate that this is a source of supply for the Soviets. We have the same thing coming in down here. All right. So one other thing to note, that if you look at the units that are up here north of the river, this is the Absha River right here, that form, it's a piece of key terrain that sort of splits this battlefield into two parts. And you'll notice that the Soviets are relatively weak up here, and the Germans are relatively strong. So they're relatively strong. So these letters, if you're familiar with the VCS system, you would already recognize these letters. The letters A and B and C denote units that have higher combat strengths, though they are variable combat strengths. And you can see that there's another concentration here near the town of Belyy itself, city, town, whatever. But there's obviously, what's going to be happening is that the Germans will, the Soviets will be driving through Klemyatin. That should be the way that things are going here. They have their concentration of force in this area. Okay. Now I'm going to be playing a variation of the game. Let's talk about that. So I'm going to be playing a variation of a game in which the Soviets have more force available. And that's going to be fairly useful for the Soviets, of course not so good for the Germans. And this is called the what if variant. So Zhukov took control of one of the formations that normally was part of 41st Army. In particular, he took control of the 2nd Mechanized Corps, and that is the units over here in the upper left of the screen. You can see this assortment of tank regiment, motorized regiment, and so on. These are all 2nd Mechanized Corps units, and it's a good concentration of strength and power. So what I'm going to be doing is playing the what if variant. These typically are listed as a variable reinforcement in scenario 5. However, they can be used here. They can be placed as shown on the setup chart. Okay, and add 2 support points to the Soviet limit for 41st Army. Okay, so what's going to happen here is that these guys will get to be placed, and I'll have to figure out where exactly they get to be placed. They don't move until turn 2. That's fine. And I do get 2 extra supported attack counters for 41st Army. So it will go from 6 to 8 supported attack counters. And the supported attack counters are these items right here. Let's zoom in on that. So supported attack counters. Oh, that's the max zoom. Supported attack counters are these counters. In this game, in order to do a full strength attack, you must utilize a supported attack counter. The counter mix typically is going to be 6 supported attack counters per Soviet Army. So in this case, we're dealing primarily with 41st Army, and you can tell which units are 41st Army because of the color of the NATO symbols on the counters. That represents, so 41st Army is orange, and you will see the orange color. And as you can see, everything here is 41st Army. So we get 2 more of these. I believe they should be in the markers which is a 41st Army supported attack, so I would get 2 more for a total of 8. So that's fairly convenient. In the event that you try to do an attack without a supported attack counter, your units will attack at half strength. So that's a normal limitation of the game. So because I'll get 2 mech available, I'll get these 2 extra counters, and I think that's going to work out fairly well. So next I'm going to find the locations for 2 mech and put them on the board. Okay, so I found the location of the units. That is on the Soviet setup chart. That's chart number 1 here, scenario number 1 rather. And I see that the 2nd Mech Corps units and the appropriate chits for markers rather for supported attacks are located here. I navigated to this, of course, going through charts and tables up here in the menu next to the dice. So charts and tables, scenario number 1. All right, so let's continue with this. So we have a stack in 2133, which I shall now place. And a stack in 2033. Okay, looks like they're coming in on the road. Then 1932, a couple of units. 1832. And then 1731. So these folks are echeloned, well, they're following the road all the way back there. And of course I'll take my supported attack counters and just add them to the stack. So now, interesting. Okay, we seem to be done with this. I'll also note so the Soviet units are now set up properly. Obviously the units are not available. I do need to look at the at start. So it appears that this at start units stack right here, yeah, this stack right here is no move until turn 2. Okay. Right, okay. So immediately I can note that you note the color coding here, this green color code, no move until turn 2 versus the special rule, right? And we have 2235. Bear with me, I'm going to move this off a bit so that I can see what I'm doing here. 2235. You can see these do not move counters. So according to the rules in the what if variant, I need to have the same thing going on for the 2 mech units. So I will get generic markers until turn 2. So placing those. So that seems to be fairly appropriate. Just as a fit and finish thing, I think that would it be? It should be relatively easy, I'm thinking, to have this available as a separate scenario, variant, so that you can load this from the start, and it would come up with these units in the appropriate place. So what have I got over here? Got a stack of 3 and a stack of 5. I think these need to be together. That should now be a stack of 8. Yeah, that's good. All right. So now we've got the 2nd Mechanized Corps set up appropriately, and I think it is time to put the artillery on the board. So back over here, note the color coding, purple and purple, all these artillery units at start in this stack. They are placed within 2 hexes of a unit that actually has a start hex. So any unit that is actually assigned, let's see, if placed adjacent to an enemy unit, they must be stacked with other units. They may begin in either mode. And okay, what we're referring to with mode is I can flip between a move mode and an in-battery mode. So the difference being that, well, if you want to move, you go to move mode. If you want to fire, you're in fire mode. Okay, so that's fine. I can certainly do that. Right, okay, will do. So that'll be the next thing that I do, and we'll come back after I have accomplished that. And we're back. I have placed the artillery units as necessary. So what I've done is out of the, I believe it was roughly 10 artillery units. Let's do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11. 11 artillery units. I have placed 3 of them north of the river. Here, here. Did I not have? Yeah, 2 here on the road, 1 here in the woods. And they will act defensively to basically cover this entire front with some necessary artillery fire. Then in the south, I put some Katyushas here in the vicinity of Belyy. Interesting thing about these units is that they have a low movement potential. They do not appear to be motorized units. So need them a little closer to the front. They also have a lower range in particular. So their range is going to be like that. Then I have another couple of units here with their range. Let's see. He will be covering that. Katyusha right here. And that should do it. So it pretty much gives me coverage over the entire front. I will have to move the artillery units fairly soon, but they're about as far forward as I can reasonably hope for. Could I put them further forward? Maybe a touch. Not this Katyusha unit. That would not work out. Although I can't put them alone adjacent to the enemy. So I think this will do for now. And let's do some cleanup here. So that's what we've got to work with here. This appears to be a proper starting configuration for the what if variation on the Belyy Thrust scenario 1. So next up, I'll get to moving, get to rolling some dice. Hope you liked the video. Love to see your comments below, and we will see you down the road.